I can't keep doing this, Trevor. Every time you look at me, I see nothing. 3 years of marriage and you still can't." The words died in my throat as I watched my husband turn away, his shoulders sagging with shame. That's when I knew our marriage was over. But what happened next would change everything I thought I knew about love, healing, and the impossible connection between two broken souls. In this story, you'll discover how a chance encounter with a mysterious billionaire would reveal truths that could either save us both or destroy everything we'd ever known. If you're new to this channel, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications so you'll be the first to know when we drop more mind-blowing stories like this one. And tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I want to see my viewers. My name is Simone Bennett, and 6 months ago, I was cleaning toilets at the Billionaire Hotel in downtown Chicago, trying to forget that my marriage had become a prison of silence and shame. At 29, I'd already given up on the idea that love could be anything more than obligation and disappointment. The divorce papers sat unsigned in my apartment, gathering dust on the kitchen counter where I'd left them 3 weeks ago. Trevor kept saying he'd work on himself, that things would get better, but we both knew the truth. Whatever spark we'd had died the night of his accident 3 years ago. The physical injuries healed, but something inside him broke that never came back. And somehow, in his brokenness, he'd managed to break me too. I'd stopped looking in mirrors. Stopped caring about the dark circles under my eyes or the weight I'd lost from skipping meals to pick up extra shifts. My grandmother would look at me with worry in her eyes every Sunday when I visited, asking when I was going to start living again instead of just surviving. "Room 4207 needs a deep clean," my supervisor Rochelle said that Tuesday morning, handing me the keycard with barely a glance. "VIP guest. Do it right, Simone. This one's important." I grabbed my cart and headed to the penthouse level, a place where people spent more on one night than I made in a month. The hallways up there smelled different, like money and expensive cologne instead of industrial cleaner and desperation. The carpet was thicker, the artwork on the walls was real instead of prints, and even the air felt different. Cleaner somehow. Easier to breathe. When I knocked on 4207, a voice called out, "It's open." I pushed my cart inside and froze. The man standing by the floor-to-ceiling windows was the most striking person I'd ever seen. Tall, with dark hair going silver at the temples, wearing a crisp white shirt with the sleeves rolled up to reveal strong forearms. But it wasn't his looks that stopped me, it was the exhaustion in his eyes, the kind that comes from carrying weight no one else can see. The kind I recognized because I saw it in my own reflection every day. "Sorry," he said, his voice rough like he hadn't used it in hours. "Didn't realize housekeeping was coming now." "I can come back, sir." "No, it's fine. I'm Grayson. Grayson Mitchell." He turned fully toward me, and I felt something shift in the air between us. A recognition that made no sense, like my body knew him even though we'd never met. "Simone," I managed, though my voice sounded strange to my own ears. We stared at each other for what felt like hours but was probably only seconds. Then he did something that shocked me. He smiled, really smiled, and it transformed his entire face. The exhaustion didn't disappear, but something warm and genuine broke through it. "You feel that?" he asked quietly. "Feel what?" But I knew exactly what he meant. The room suddenly felt charged, alive, like the air before a thunderstorm. My skin tingled, and my heart was racing for no reason I could explain. "Like I've been waiting for you my entire life." I should have laughed it off, made an excuse, run back to my cart and pretended this moment never happened. Instead, I heard myself say, "Yes. I feel it too." For the next hour, I forgot to clean. We talked like two people who'd known each other forever, sharing things I'd never told anyone. He told me about the pharmaceutical company he'd built from nothing, the billions in his bank account that meant nothing when he couldn't sleep at night, and the medical condition that had left him unable to be intimate with anyone for 3 years. "Every doctor says there's nothing physically wrong," Grayson explained, his vulnerability so raw it made my chest ache. "It's psychological. Ever since my sister died in that car crash, it's like that part of me just stopped working. Like my body shut down to protect me from feeling anything at all." "I lost my brother in a car accident," I whispered. 5 years ago. Drunk driver ran a red light. He was only 24. The connection between us intensified. Two people carrying the same kind of grief, finding each other in the most unlikely place. Maya was 26, Grayson said quietly. She was driving to meet me for dinner when it happened. I was supposed to pick her up, but I got caught in a meeting. If I'd just left on time. It wasn't your fault. Isn't it? That's what everyone says. But I can't stop thinking about all the ways I could have prevented it. All the small decisions that led to that moment. I understood that guilt intimately. I'd carried the same weight since losing my brother. I was supposed to be in the car with him that night, I admitted. But I had to work a double shift. For years, I couldn't decide if I was lucky to be alive or cursed to live with the guilt. Grayson moved closer, drawn by the shared pain between us. Simone, this is going to sound insane, but being near you, I feel different. I feel like myself again for the first time in years. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. Trevor. Again. The third call that morning, each one more desperate than the last. Your husband? Grayson asked, his expression carefully neutral. Soon to be ex-husband. It's complicated. Everything worth having is complicated. Over the next 2 weeks, I found reasons to be in that suite every day. Rochelle didn't question it. The VIP guest had specifically requested me, and you didn't argue with people who could afford the penthouse. Sometimes Grayson and I talked for hours about our childhoods, our dreams, the people we'd lost. Sometimes we just sat in silence, but always there was that connection, growing stronger, more undeniable, more impossible to ignore. Grayson started testing his theory. He'd go days without seeing me, tracking his symptoms in a journal his therapist had suggested. The numbness would return, the disconnection from his own body that had plagued him for 3 years. Then I'd arrive for my shift, and within minutes of being in the same room, he'd feel whole again. It defied medical explanation, but we couldn't deny what was happening between us. You're healing me, he said one afternoon, his voice filled with wonder. Just by existing near me. That's impossible. So is meeting someone who makes you believe in magic again. So is finding the one person in the world who understands exactly what you're going through. I wanted to believe him. God, how I wanted to believe that our connection was real, that it meant something beyond a lonely billionaire and a desperate maid grasping for any kind of comfort. But I'd learned the hard way that wanting something didn't make it true. What if this is just trauma bonding? I asked. What if we're just two broken people looking for someone else to carry our pain? Then we carry it together, Grayson said simply. Isn't that better than carrying it alone? But our stolen moments couldn't last forever. On week 3, everything fell apart. I entered the suite one morning to find a woman sitting on Grayson's couch. Blonde, elegant, dripping with diamonds that probably cost more than my car. She looked at me the way you'd look at an insect, something small and insignificant that needed to be crushed. So you're the little maid, she said, her voice cold as winter. How quaint. Valerie, get out. Grayson's voice was steel. Not until we discuss your situation. She turned to me with a smile that was all teeth and no warmth. Did he tell you about our engagement? How we were supposed to get married before his unfortunate condition made him damaged goods? That's enough, Grayson stood, his body vibrating with anger. Or did he mention that I'm the majority shareholder in his company? That I could destroy everything he's built with one vote? She examined her perfectly manicured nails. I've been very patient, darling. Very understanding about your little problem. But now I find you've been playing doctor with the help. That's where I draw the line. My stomach dropped. Grayson. She's lying about the engagement. We dated years ago, before the accident. But the business part is true. Valerie's laugh was cruel, practiced. Oh honey, this isn't about love. This is about a billionaire playing with his toys. Once you fix him, make him functional again, do you really think he'll keep you around? A black maid with no education and a failed marriage. Please. You're a medical experiment, nothing more. The words hit like physical blows, each one landing exactly where they'd hurt most. Because hadn't I thought the same thing? Hadn't I wondered if Grayson's feelings were real or just gratitude for the healing I provided? How dare you speak to her that way? Grayson's voice shook with barely controlled rage. You don't know anything about her or what she means to me. I dare because I own 40% of Mitchell Pharmaceutical. And if you don't end whatever this is, I'll sell my shares to Preston Whitmore, who's been trying to hostile take over your company for 2 years. You'll lose everything, your company, your legacy, everything your father built. All because you couldn't keep your pants on around the cleaning staff. My father built that company through intimidation and crushing anyone who got in his way, Grayson shot back. If I lose it by choosing love over business, then maybe that's the best thing that could happen. Valerie's composure cracked slightly. You don't mean that. I've never meant anything more in my life. After she left, Grayson reached for me, but I stepped back. Is it true? About her shares? Yes, but. And this Preston Whitmore wants to take your company. He's been trying for years, but that's not. So if you lose me, you lose your ability to function. And if you lose her cooperation, you lose your business. Sounds like I'm just a medical treatment to you. A cure that happens to come in human form. Simone, that's not fair. Fair? I laughed, but it sounded like breaking glass. Nothing about this is fair, Grayson. I'm a married woman falling for a billionaire who's using me to fix whatever's broken inside him. She's right. Once I'm done healing you, why would you want me around? Why would someone like you want someone like me when you could have anyone? Because I love you. The words hung in the air between us. Too big and too soon and too real. You don't even know me. I know you're the only person who's made me feel alive in 3 years. I know you're stronger than anyone I've ever met, working 2 jobs to take care of your grandmother while dealing with a marriage that's been dead for years. I know you're kind to everyone, even the people who treat you like you're invisible. I know when you walk into a room, everything makes sense again. I know that losing you would be worse than losing my company, my money, everything I've built. My phone rang. Trevor. Always Trevor, calling to remind me I still wore his ring, still shared his last name, still owed him another chance to become the man he used to be. I need to go. Simone, please. I need to think. I ran from that suite, from Grayson's pleading eyes, from the impossible choice between the familiar pain of my marriage and the terrifying possibility of something real. That night, Trevor was waiting in our apartment, and I knew immediately that something was different. He'd been drinking, not drunk, but enough to give him courage. "Where have you been?" he asked, and I saw something new in his expression. Suspicion mixed with hurt and anger. "Working." At the Belmorn. In the same suite. Every day for 3 weeks. My blood went cold. "Have you been following me?" "I hired someone to check on you. They told me interesting things. About you spending hours with some rich guy. About the way he looks at you. About how you smile for him in ways you haven't smiled at me in years." "Trevor, it's not." "Not what?" "Not an affair. Because it sure sounds like one. My investigator showed me pictures, Simone. Pictures of you and him on his balcony, sitting close, holding hands. You're having an affair with a billionaire while I'm here trying to fix myself so I can be a husband to you again. You want to talk about affairs. What about us? What about the fact that we haven't touched each other in 3 years? What about the marriage we're both pretending still exists?" His face crumpled. "I'm trying, Simone. The doctors said with time. It's not about the physical stuff." I was shouting now, years of frustration pouring out. "It's about you giving up. On yourself, on us, on everything. You stopped being my husband the night of that accident, and I've been grieving you ever since. You're still here, still breathing, but the man I married died 3 years ago. So you went and found someone else. Someone who works. Someone rich enough to make you forget about the broken man waiting at home." The cruelty of it took my breath away. "Get out. This is my apartment too. Then I'll leave. I should have left months ago. Should have left when I realized we were just 2 people keeping each other company in our misery instead of actually living." I grabbed my overnight bag and ran, not knowing where I was going until I found myself back at the Bellmorn, standing outside room 4207 at midnight. Grayson opened the door in pajama pants and a t-shirt, his hair messy from sleep, his eyes widening when he saw me standing there with tears streaming down my face. "He knows," I said. "Trevor knows about us." Grayson pulled me inside, his arms wrapping around me as I finally let myself break down. 3 years of holding it together, of being strong, of pretending my marriage wasn't killing me slowly, it all came pouring out. "I'm here," he whispered against my hair. "I've got you. I've got you, and I'm not letting go." That night, we didn't cross any lines. He just held me while I cried, then made tea the way my grandmother used to make it and listened as I told him everything. About the hopeful girl who'd married her college sweetheart at 23, believing love could conquer anything. About the accident that had changed Trevor into someone I didn't recognize, angry, bitter, ashamed. About the slow death of a relationship when both people are too guilty to let go, too afraid to admit that sometimes love isn't enough to save you. "I'm still married," I said as dawn broke over the city, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. "I can't do this to him. No matter how broken our marriage is, I made vows. Even though he's already let you go. Even though staying means sacrificing your own happiness. He hasn't signed the papers." "Simone, look at me." Grayson cupped my face in his hands, his touch gentle. "You deserve to be happy. You deserve to be cherished. You deserve someone who doesn't see you as an obligation or a reminder of everything they've lost. And you think you're that person. A billionaire who needs me to function. I think we're two broken people who found something real in the most unexpected place. Yes, being near you helps me heal. But I'd give up that healing tomorrow if it meant keeping you in my life as just my friend. You're not a treatment, you're not a cure, you're the woman I want to build a life with, whether my condition improves or not." Before I could respond, someone pounded on the door hard enough to rattle it in its frame. "I know you're in there, Simone." Trevor's voice, drunk and desperate. "Open this door right now." Grayson's expression hardened. "Stay here." "No, let me." But he was already at the door, opening it to reveal my husband swaying in the hallway, hotel security approaching behind him. "You think you can just take my wife?" Trevor lunged forward, but Grayson caught his arms easily. "She's not property. She's a person who's been carrying your weight for 3 years while you wallowed in self-pity instead of getting real help. What do you know about it? What do you know about losing yourself, about becoming nothing, about being too broken to even touch your own wife?" "I know about it more than you think," Grayson's voice softened. "I spent 3 years in the same place you are. But the difference is, I didn't try to drag someone else down with me. I didn't make the woman I loved responsible for fixing what was broken inside me." Security reached us then, pulling Trevor back gently but firmly. "Sir, we need you to leave or we'll call the police." As they led him away, Trevor looked at me with so much pain it made my chest ache. "I loved you, Simone. I still love you." "I know," I whispered. "But love isn't enough when we're both drowning. Sometimes love means letting go." The scandal hit the next morning like a tidal wave. Someone had filmed Trevor's drunk scene, and by noon it was all over social media. Billionaire steals married maid, hotel romance gone wrong, love triangle at the Bellmorn. The comments were vicious, racist, full of people who couldn't understand why a white billionaire would choose a black maid over women of his own class. My phone exploded with calls. My family, friends I hadn't talked to in years, even reporters offering money for my side of the story. The hotel's HR department summoned me immediately. "We're letting you go," my supervisor Rochelle said, not meeting my eyes. "You violated the fraternization policy." "I never." "Your relationship with Mr. Mitchell compromises the hotel's reputation. We can't have staff members involved with guests, especially in ways that generate negative publicity. Clear out your locker by end of day." I stood there in shock, watching my livelihood disappear because I dared to feel something real. When I returned to the suite to tell Grayson, I found him on the phone, pacing like a caged animal. "I don't care what it costs, Julian. Buy her shares. All of them. Today." I want her completely out of my company by close of business. He saw me and his expression shifted to concern. I'll call you back. The hotel fired me. Those bastards. I'll buy the entire chain and fire whoever made that decision. No, I said firmly. You can't fix everything with money, Grayson. This is my mess to clean up. Our mess. We're in this together. Are we? Because from where I'm standing, you're about to buy out your ex-girlfriend to protect your company, and I'm jobless with a husband who won't sign divorce papers and my face plastered all over the internet as a homewrecker who seduced a vulnerable billionaire. Grayson's phone rang. He glanced at it and his face went pale. What? It's Valerie. She's calling an emergency board meeting. She's going to force a vote to remove me as CEO. Then you need to go handle that. Not without you. Grayson, we barely know each other. 3 weeks ago I was just your maid. Now my life is imploding, your company is at risk, and we're caught in the middle of something neither of us knows how to fix. So we fix it together. How? By refusing to let them win. By proving that what we have is real, not some scandal to be ashamed of. He pulled me close, and I felt that familiar electricity, the sense of rightness that made no logical sense. The board meeting is in 2 hours, he said against my hair. Come with me. Stand beside me. Show them that what we have is worth fighting for. I'm not dressed for a boardroom. I'm wearing my uniform and sneakers. Then wear one of my shirts. Wear jeans for all I care. Just be there. Be you. That's all I need. 2 hours later, I stood in the most intimidating room I'd ever seen, surrounded by men in $1,000 suits and women with ice in their veins, trying not to feel like exactly what I was, a maid playing dress-up in a billionaire's world. Valerie's smile was triumphant as she addressed the board. Gentlemen, ladies, we're here to discuss the leadership crisis at Mitchell Pharmaceutical. Our CEO has become involved in a public scandal that's already affecting our stock price and company reputation. The stock dropped 2 points, Grayson countered calmly. Hardly a crisis. It's not just about numbers, though those matter. It's about judgment. You've jeopardized your health, your reputation, and this company's image for a woman you barely know. A married woman. A woman with no education, no connections, nothing to offer you except whatever temporary comfort she provides. I know her better than I've known anyone. Based on what? 3 weeks of hotel meetings. She's married, Grayson, to someone else. And you brought her to this boardroom like she has any right to be here, like she's anything more than a temporary distraction from your problems. She has every right, Grayson stood, his voice ringing with authority that made even the most skeptical board members sit up straighter. Because what Simone gave me can't be measured in profit margins or stock prices. She gave me back my life. The room went silent, everyone leaning forward to hear what came next. For 3 years, I've been dying slowly. Unable to function as a man, unable to connect with anyone, unable to feel anything but grief and guilt over my sister's death. I tried everything: doctors, therapists, medications that cost more than most people make in a year. Experimental treatments in Switzerland. Specialists in Japan. Nothing worked. I was convinced I'd spend the rest of my life broken, unable to have the family I'd always wanted, unable to be whole. He turned to me, his eyes fierce with certainty. Then I met Simone. And I know how it sounds: billionaire falls for his maid, tale as old as time. But this isn't about money or status or some kind of fantasy. Simone doesn't come from money. She doesn't have a degree from an Ivy League school or connections to old family names. What she has is real strength, real compassion, real courage. She works 2 jobs to support her grandmother's medical care. She stayed in a dead marriage for 3 years out of loyalty and guilt. She treats every person with dignity regardless of their title or bank account. And somehow, just by being herself, she healed something in me that billions of dollars couldn't fix. That's very touching, Valerie's voice dripped with sarcasm. But it doesn't change the fact that she's still married. That this is still a scandal that's hurting the company. Actually, a voice came from the doorway: she's not. Trevor stood there, cleaned up and sober, holding papers. He looked smaller somehow, less angry, just tired and sad and finally ready to let go. "I signed the divorce papers this morning," he said, walking into the boardroom like he'd been invited. "My lawyer will file them this afternoon. The marriage is over." I stared at him in shock. "Trevor, why?" "Because watching Grayson defend you the way I should have been defending you for 3 years showed me what real love looks like. And because you deserve to be free. You deserved it a long time ago, but I was too selfish and too broken to give you that gift." He handed me the papers, then looked at Grayson. "Take care of her. She's stronger than she knows, but she needs someone who sees that strength instead of feeling threatened by it. She needs someone who doesn't need her to be smaller so he can feel bigger." After Trevor left, Valerie played her final card. "How sweet. But I still own 40% of this company, and I'm still calling for a vote. All in favor of removing Grayson Mitchell as CEO." 3 hands went up. Not enough for a majority. All opposed. The rest of the board raised their hands, including 2 people I didn't expect, older board members who'd seemed skeptical throughout Grayson's speech. "But I don't understand," Valerie stammered, her composure finally cracking completely. "You don't own 40% anymore," Grayson said quietly. "As of 1 hour ago, those shares were purchased by the Bennett Healthcare Foundation." Valerie's face went white. "That's impossible. I never agreed to sell." "Your hedge fund did. They had the authority to make the sale without your approval, especially when offered significantly above market value. Perhaps you should read the fine print of your investment agreements more carefully." "The Bennett Foundation?" I whispered, stunned. Grayson squeezed my hand. "Named after a remarkable woman who reminded me what courage looks like. And funded by someone who believes in second chances and healing." 3 months later, I stood in a classroom at Northwestern University, starting the nursing degree I'd abandoned 6 years ago when my brother died and medical bills overwhelmed my family. The Bennett Foundation covered my tuition, living expenses, textbooks, and even paid for my grandmother's medical care so I could focus on school instead of working 3 jobs. Grayson and I took it slow, learning each other in ways that had nothing to do with the physical healing I provided. We discovered we both loved old movies from the 1940s and terrible puns that made us both groan. We could talk for hours about philosophy, medicine, human nature. Silence between us felt just as intimate as conversation, comfortable instead of awkward. His condition improved gradually, like learning to walk again after an injury. Some days were better than others, but the shame that had defined him for 3 years finally lifted. Therapy helped, both individual sessions with Dr. Patel and couples counseling that taught us how to build something healthy from the broken pieces we'd started with. Dr. Patel says our case is one for the medical journals. Grayson told me one evening as we cooked dinner in his penthouse kitchen, the same penthouse where we'd first met. Trauma bonding leading to physiological healing through authentic connection. Apparently, it's almost unheard of in the medical literature. "We're special," I teased, stealing a piece of the vegetables he was chopping. "You're special. I'm just lucky you walked into my room that day instead of someone else." A year after we met, Grayson proposed on the rooftop of the Belmorn Hotel, with the entire housekeeping staff invited to watch. Rochelle cried and apologized profusely for firing me, and I forgave her because I'd learned that most people do the best they can with what they know at the time. We got married at a small ceremony in his sister's favorite park, with my grandmother as my maid of honor and Trevor in attendance because healing meant making peace with the past, not erasing it. He'd gotten sober, started therapy, and was slowly rebuilding his life. We'd never be close, but we'd found a way to be at peace with each other. The media called us a fairy tale. The Billionaire and the Maid, love conquering all, rags to riches, Cinderella story for the modern age. But it wasn't about the money or the social mobility or the dramatic scandal that had captured public attention. It was about 2 broken people finding each other at exactly the right moment, when both of us had given up on being whole again. It was about the mysterious alchemy of connection, the way certain souls recognize each other across any distance or difference. It was about choosing love even when it's complicated, scary, and completely illogical. 2 years later, I graduated with my nursing degree with honors and started working at a clinic that served low-income communities, the same communities I'd come from. Grayson expanded the Bennett Foundation to provide healthcare access and education funding for service workers across the country. Hotel staff, janitors, home health aides, all the invisible people who kept society functioning. We had a daughter we named Hope, for the unearned gift of finding each other when neither of us was looking. And sometimes, when I watch Grayson hold her with infinite gentleness, reading her bedtime stories in the same voice he once used to share his deepest fears with me, I remember the broken man standing by hotel windows, convinced he'd never be whole again. The truth is, we saved each other. Not because one of us was the cure and the other was the patient, but because we were brave enough to believe that healing is possible when you stop trying to do it alone. And that sometimes the person you're meant to find isn't someone you'd ever expect. Sometimes they're wearing a housekeeping uniform and pushing a cleaning cart. Sometimes they're standing in a hotel penthouse, lost and afraid and desperately hoping for a miracle. Sometimes love shows up exactly when you need it most, in exactly the form you weren't looking for. That's not a fairy tale. That's just the beautiful, complicated truth of two imperfect people choosing each other every single day, through doubt and fear and judgment from a world that couldn't understand what we'd found. Thank you for staying with this story until the very end. If you enjoyed Simone and Grayson's journey, you're going to love what we have coming next, so hit that subscribe button. The story is even more intense, with twists you won't see coming. Make sure you check it out. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. Don't forget to tell me where you are watching from in the comment section.